The year is 2018, and Motorsport Network decide they want to get into the world of sim racing. A studio called Motorsport Games is then created. They'll develop their own games, they'll host their own esports competitions, they'll partner with professional drivers, and they'll give sim racers multiple AAA titles featuring not just NASCAR or IndyCar, but even the BTCC and the World Endurance Series. It's the dawn of a new era in sim racing, and it just came out of nowhere. But fast forward to the spring of 2022, they have just one original product under their belt. NASCAR 21 Ignition goes viral for how unplayable it is. Their stock is almost worthless. They're telling people their rFactor 2 league is almost as popular as the Super Bowl, and the company doesn't have the funds to last through 2022. In my opinion, these guys are liars, and this company's a scam. Because this situation is so insane, I can't actually elaborate more than that. This is uncharted territory for sim racing. I don't know how to describe what I'm seeing here, because I've never read of a company doing stuff like this. I hope bigger sim racing outlets, or bigger outlets period, pick up on the story. So how the hell did we get here? So last Wednesday, Motorsport Games held their fourth quarter 2021 earnings call, and it is impressive what's happening to this company for all the wrong reasons. Thank you to the Motley Fool for the transcript of this call so I can display the quotes on the screen as text instead of having to play the audio and record it with Shadowplay. Let's get going. Let's talk about their share price because it's funny. On March 18th, 2022, MSGM closed the day at just $1.51 per share. It's practically worthless. The following week, on March 25th, 2022, they announced Romain Grosjean would become an advisor within the company. This is the former F1 driver turned IndyCar driver. A week after that, on April 1st, 2022, their share price continued to drop and closed at $1.38 per share. This company partnered with a former F1 driver who's basically a celebrity in this industry and still lost value. When have you ever heard of a company partnering with a celebrity and their share price drops? So let's dig into why this might be. So a YouTube comment on my channel left by a guy named David McQuaid, you can look him up on LinkedIn, he doesn't try and hide his identity. He states that they tried to get our firm to raise debt financing for an acquisition. One look at their financials and I was flabbergasted at a $400 million valuation, and anyone paying that for a company with virtually no revenue. Their car collection and their offices in Miami are literally the only thing with any ounce of value. Glad they were also a little arrogant in the process, was the icing on the cake to pass on this bubble and not be part of passing the bag off to new holders. If this story is true, which it's very likely, I was able to find this guy very quick on LinkedIn. It implies that from day one, Motorsport Games have been misleading basically everyone they talk to. And in going deeper into their earnings call, I have reason to believe that when they start talking about esports. They claim 81 million people watched the virtual Le Mans series in 2021. For some perspective, Super Bowl 56 between the Rams and the Bengals had 112 million viewers. This is the biggest sporting event on the planet. So this metric alone, 81 million people watching an rFactor league, is completely impossible. Highlights of the race on Wex channel has just over 100,000 viewers. Very obviously not 81 million. These people are lying to their investors and claiming an rFactor 2 league is almost as big as the Super Bowl. And compared to the 2018 24 Hours Le Mans race replay on YouTube, is 40 times bigger than the actual Le Mans event they're trying to emulate. If you've invested in this company, the best time to contact a lawyer was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Like, turn off the video, this is all you need. When it comes to esports revenue, the company doesn't actually know how to make esports events self-sustainable, which is a pretty big problem you'll need to solve if you're trying to specialize in the esports ecosystem like Motorsport Games are. By their own admission, the only substantial revenue from these events comes from selling off sponsorship slots. Now, in real life, on top of sponsorship for sports events, ticket sales, concession sales, beer sales, and merch sales help sporting events turn a profit if that sponsorship dries up. This business model is called gate-driven, and it helps your local tracks stay afloat, as well as smaller sports leagues like the American Hockey League or the Canadian Football League. Motorsport Games haven't found a way to make their esports events sustainable, beyond begging other people for sponsorship money. So I'll fill in the blanks here. If a sponsor calls bullshit on their 81 million viewer metric that we just talked about and jump ship, these events no longer happen. There's no backup plan. So the way I personally interpret their esports business model is that it's a house of cards, full stop. I personally believe that Motorsport Games is showing blatantly false and knowingly misleading viewership metrics to potential sponsors, and just hoping those potential sponsors are dumb enough to believe them and give them money. I say this to the best of my knowledge because Steam charts quite clearly shows that just over 1,000 people are playing rFactor 2 worldwide at any point in time, yet Motorsport Games are adamant that over 80 million people are watching rFactor 2 esports races. This does not make sense. Speaking of having no backup plan beyond begging other people for money, Motorsport Games have admitted they don't have enough cash on hand to last for 2022. If you're one of the people who defended NASCAR 21 and told others to wait for a second game, there is now a greater than zero chance that there might not be another game because the studio might not exist. Their plan to rectify this is to ask other people for money to bail them out. If they can't find anyone to bail them out, it's over. Already, you can tell they're in trouble. On a recent roadmap the team has released, the BTCC game they announced years ago, when the company was first created, is absent. And their list of partners on the bottom, they forgot to remove the BTCC logo. They just hoped nobody would notice that the BTCC game that they've talked about for close to 4 years now isn't listed anymore. Now, what about the games they actually did release? Motorsport Games is very proud of the fact that they have rFactor 2 under their umbrella. Even though it's very obviously a game they had no hand in creating, they show it off as their own. So I asked Joseph Newgarden what he thought of the IndyCar DLC they released for rFactor 2.
Austin, yeah, it does drive weird. I would agree with that. You have to like overslip the front too to maximize front grip.
Now, over in the world of NASCAR 21 Ignition, they've added the next generation car, the Gen 7 car, to their game, but there's a catch. You can only drive the car at Daytona, where you're full throttle, in a test session with no other cars on the track. For how big this company is and how much money is being pumped into these projects, they shouldn't be putting out something that sounds like a bad rFactor mod and a test track mode as big new features. This is not the AAA gaming experience they promised motorsport fans. They're instead releasing a very convoluted form of shovelware. What's crazy to me is how nobody has covered any part of the story. The big sim racing outlets such as Traction or Race Department haven't touched any of this. In fact, Race Department lists the British Touring Car Championship game that has been taken off Motorsport Games' roadmap as one of the games to look forward to in 2022, despite the fact that it's probably not going to come out. Even big content creators aren't talking about this despite the info being publicly available. I mean, that's one of the benefits of Motorsport Games being a publicly traded company. They have to, by law, upload these earnings calls so anyone who's interested in investing in the company can go listen to them. It's free content that people can make videos on and get their ad revenue for the day, and nobody's touched it. So, no one else is doing it. I will. My personal opinion, this company's a scam.